Good afternoon, folks. It's Monday, March 31st, 2025, and I'm your anchor bringing you the latest on a fiery clash that's heating up the headlines. President Donald Trump is unloading on U.S. District Court Judge James Boasberg and what he calls radical left judges for throwing a wrench in his plans to deport violent illegal immigrants. This is a battle over law, order, and who gets to call the shots in America. Let's break it down. Trump took to Truth Social this morning with a message that's got everyone talking. People are shocked by what is going on with the court system, he wrote. I was elected for many reasons, but a principal one was law and order, a big part of which is quickly removing a vast criminal network of individuals who came into our country through the crooked Joe Biden open borders policy. He didn't mince words about who he's targeting. These are dangerous and violent people who kill, maim, and in many other ways harm the people of our country. His solution? Get them out, fast. The voters want them out and said so in record numbers, he added, capping it off with a rallying cry, "Make America great again." So what's the holdup? Enter Judge James Boasberg, a federal judge in Washington, D.C., who's become the president's latest lightning rod. On Friday, Boasberg extended a restraining order blocking the Trump administration from using the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, a wartime law, to deport suspected gang members, particularly those tied to the Venezuelan outfit Tren de Aragua or TDA. That order now runs through April 12 and it's got Trump fuming. He claims Boasberg and other judges like him are stopping him from doing his job, warning that if it's up to them, nobody would be removed, the president wouldn't be allowed to do his job, and people's lives would be devastated all throughout our country. Let's zoom in on this law for a second. The Alien Enemies Act dates back to 1798 and lets the president deport natives or citizens of an enemy nation without a hearing. It's been dusted off just 3 times in history, during the War of 1812, World War I, and World War II. Trump's team argues it's the perfect tool to tackle what they call a national security crisis, pointing to groups like Tren de Aragua, a gang linked to violent crime in the U.S. The administration kicked things off on March 15, invoking the act to ship hundreds of suspected gang members to El Salvador, where President Nayib Bukele has opened the doors of his notorious counterterrorism confinement center, or SECOT, to take them in. Planes were already in the air when Boasberg stepped in with his initial order to halt the deportations. But here's where it gets messy. Those planes? They didn't turn back. They landed in El Salvador, delivering hundreds of detainees to SECOT, a megaprison known for its harsh conditions. Bukele had agreed back in February to accept deportees of any nationality from the U.S., a deal hashed out after a meeting with Senator Marco Rubio. Photos from March 16 show guards escorting inmates into the facility, a stark image of Trump's deportation push in action. Boasberg's order came too late to stop those flights, and now the administration's fighting tooth and nail to keep the momentum going. Boasberg isn't the only judge in the mix. Over in Boston, U.S. District Judge Brian Murphy has blocked deportations to countries where migrants have no ties, insisting they get a chance to fight their case in court. Together, these rulings have Trump and his allies crying foul, arguing they're being handcuffed by a judiciary that's overstepping its bounds. The president's team filed an emergency request with the U.S. Appeals Court to intervene, and last week, they took it all the way to the Supreme Court, pleading to lift Boasberg's block. Acting Solicitor General Sarah Harris laid it out plain and simple for the justices. This case presents fundamental questions about who decides how to conduct sensitive national security-related operations in this country. The president, through Article 2, or the judiciary. The Constitution supplies a clear answer: the president. The republic cannot afford a different choice. It's a high-stakes argument about power. Does the president get free rein on national security, or can judges put the brakes on when they see fit? Trump's not backing down. He's framing this as a mandate from the people, pointing to his election as proof that Americans want these dangerous and violent individuals gone. And he's got some heavy hitters weighing in. Historian Victor Davis Hanson recently called Boasberg the most powerful man in America for single-handedly stalling Trump's agenda. Hanson argues that unelected judges like Boasberg are flexing muscle they shouldn't have, especially on issues voters made loud and clear at the ballot box. Meanwhile, the Tren de Aragua gang is front and center in this saga. Take the Bronx, for example. On December 5, 22 suspected members were busted in one apartment building. That's the kind of activity Trump's targeting, saying it's proof of a vast criminal network that slipped in under Biden's watch. El Salvador's SECOT now holds hundreds more, with inmates packed in tight under heavy guard. It's a brutal setup, but Trump's team says it's necessary to keep Americans safe. Critics, though, aren't buying it. Immigrant rights groups argue the Alien Enemies Act is being stretched beyond its intent. There's no war with Venezuela, and labeling a gang an enemy nation feels like a legal leap. They point to cases where deportees swear they've got no gang ties, like some of the 238 men shipped to El Salvador who claim they're innocent. Boasberg's extension gives them a shot to prove it, but with the Supreme Court looming, that window could slam shut fast. The administration's not sitting still. They're pushing back hard, insisting those initial flights didn't violate Boasberg's order because they took off before his written ruling hit the docket. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt has called the judge's moves lawless, echoing Trump's line that the courts are protecting criminals over citizens. And with the appeals court and Supreme Court now in play, this fight's about to hit a whole new level. So what's the bigger picture? This isn't just about a few planes or a single gang, it's a showdown over who runs the show. Trump says he's got the Constitution and the voters on his side, ready to wield executive power like a hammer. Boasberg and his fellow judges say hold up, there's due process and the law's not a blank check. As the Supreme Court gears up to weigh in, the nation's watching. Will Trump get his deportations back on track, or will the judiciary keep him in check? Before I sign off, here's something to chew on. Is this about safety, power, or both? Trump's betting on the first, his critics on the second. Either way, the stakes couldn't be higher. I'm your anchor, and this has been your Sunday update. Stay tuned because this story's far from over.